When DeWanna blamed Caitlin Clark for the WNBA Finals flop, she wasn't speaking truth. She was showing just how far the league's culture has deteriorated. Instead of acknowledging the league's failure to deliver a compelling, marketable product, Bonner targeted the one player who brought relevance to a sport desperately in need of it. Her anger didn't reflect passion. It reflected a system that has become more focused on protecting fragile egos than elevating the game.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
The fact that Bonner, a veteran of the league, chose scapegoating over accountability says everything about where leadership in the WNBA has gone wrong. The finals didn't fall apart because of Clark. They collapsed because the league had nothing ready once the spotlight shifted. No drama, no narrative, no excitement, just rows of empty seats and a sanitized spectacle devoid of passion. The WNBA's refusal to build off real moments, real stars, and real rivalries has created a product that feels lifeless when its main attraction isn't involved. And Bonner's meltdown? It was just the loudest symptom of a league more interested in protecting its image than fixing its foundation. The WNBA finals are unraveling, and instead of facing the fallout with accountability, DeWanna Bonner decided to throw gasoline on the fire. In a move that's baffling and frankly embarrassing, she lashed out. Not at the league for dropping the ball, not at the leadership for fumbling its biggest opportunity in decades, but Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever fans. Yes, the same Clark who pulled the WNBA out of irrelevance this season and made people care again. Bonner's outburst wasn't just misplaced. It was a spotlight on the league's deeper dysfunction. Let's talk facts. Ticket prices for the finals have hit rock bottom. We're talking as low as $10. When your championship series costs less than a combo meal, you're not just having a bad week. You've got a credibility crisis. And Bonner blaming the fans for not showing up? That's the clear sign, yet that some players, like the leadership they play under, are completely out of touch. The real issue isn't fans refusing to show up. The issue is a product that no longer demands attention. The games aren't drawing crowds because there's no narrative holding them up. There's no rivalry, no drama, no momentum. Just a cold, sanitized display that feels more like an exhibition than a final showdown. The WNBA sold the idea of growth all season, but now that it's time to cash in, there's nothing left in the tank. And yet, somehow, Bonner wants to blame the absence of Caitlin Clark fans for that, as if it's their job to keep the league interesting when the league itself failed to give them a reason to stay invested. Caitlin Clark was the reason this season mattered. Her debut drove record viewership. Her presence sold out arenas. Her name made the WNBA relevant to audiences that hadn't tuned in for years. And instead of embracing that momentum, the league allowed it to rot. They failed to protect her, failed to support her, and failed to capitalize on what she brought. She became a lightning rod for media attacks and intra-league resentment, while leadership stood by silently. The result? Clark's out, and the finals feel completely hollow. No spark, no stakes, just two teams playing in front of a half-empty arena, while the league tries to pretend everything's fine. Let's stop pretending. This collapse was avoidable. It wasn't a matter of bad luck. It was a direct consequence of mismanagement. The league saw what Clark could bring, and instead of planning around that success, they overexposed her, failed to create complementary storylines, and never gave fans a reason to stick around once she was out. It's sports marketing 101. Build a compelling product around your star, not on top of her. And when Clark got bounced from the playoffs, the cracks became impossible to ignore. The energy evaporated. The numbers tanked. The finals were exposed as unremarkable and unwatchable. Not because the athletes aren't talented, but because the league failed to make their stories matter. This should have been a celebration, a turning point, a chance to show that the WNBA's growth was more than just a headline. Instead, it's been a public relations disaster, with players lashing out and leadership in full denial mode. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert continues to act like everything's trending upward, spewing empty optimism while fans see the truth. Empty seats, declining interest, and a finals that feels like background noise. There's a clear disconnect between the league's messaging and the actual product. One side is desperately clinging to PR buzzwords. The other side, the fans, are looking around and wondering what happened to all that supposed momentum. The answer? It was never real. It was Clark. She was the fuel behind the growth. The increase in viewership, the merch sales, the national interest. That was her. Not a league-wide renaissance. And now that she's gone, the spotlight is dimming fast. What Bonner's rant really did was confirm what many already suspected, that there's internal tension bubbling just beneath the surface. Players frustrated, fans disillusioned, a league with no clear direction. Blaming Clark and her supporters isn't just tone-deaf, it's damaging. It alienates the very people who were willing to give the WNBA a chance this season. You don't grow a league by insulting your newest fans. You don't grow it by tearing down the player responsible for your rating spike. You grow it by building rivalries, by creating emotional stakes, by turning games into events. The WNBA didn't do that. It relied entirely on Clark's presence and hoped everything else would work itself out. And now that it hasn't, they have no idea what to do. Attendance has dropped off a cliff. Sponsorship buzz is fizzling. The games lack urgency. And the finals, what should be the league's crowning moment, are being sold at prices that scream desperation. This isn't a finals series. It's a warning sign. A clear indication that you can't fake growth with good press and empty slogans. The league's sanitized presentation isn't helping either. There's no grit, no edge, no emotion. Every ounce of raw personality is filtered through a corporate lens, robbing the sport of the authenticity that fans crave. Sports fans don't tune in for perfection. They tune in for passion, for rivalries, for real, unscripted moments. And the WNBA, in its obsession with image, has scrubbed away everything that made this season compelling in the first place. Now it's just noise, and not even loud noise. Just a faint echo of what could have been. The league should be fostering the next big stars, highlighting real tensions, and promoting matchups that matter. Instead, it buried its most valuable asset in a pile of vague empowerment, branding, and watched the excitement slip through its fingers. And now the fans are being blamed for not pretending it's all still exciting? That's absurd. DeWanna Bonner's rant didn't expose Caitlin Clark's fan base. It exposed the league's fragility, its refusal to take accountability, its inability to evolve, and most of all, its blind spot for what fans actually want. Real entertainment, not polished mediocrity. This season could have been the beginning of a golden era. But instead of building something sustainable, the WNBA chased surface-level success and let the core rot. Now it's scrambling. Now it's desperate. And unless something changes soon, this isn't going to be a breakthrough moment. It'll be a historic failure. A textbook example of how not to handle momentum. If the league wants to survive this, it needs to stop the denial, stop the blaming, and start doing the real work of turning interest into investment. That means creating rivalries, promoting players beyond buzzwords, and, most importantly, protecting and elevating the stars who actually bring fans to the game. Because right now, the WNBA looks like a league that doesn't know what it has until it's gone. If you're just as tired of the spin as we are, drop your thoughts in the comments. Is the league in a downward spiral? Did Bonner cross the line? What would you do differently? Like the video, share it, subscribe to the channel. We're not done pulling the curtain back on the chaos behind headlines. Stay tuned. The meltdown happening in the WNBA isn't subtle anymore. It's loud, it's public, and it's unraveling in front of everyone. And while DeWanna Bonner might have thought she was venting some justified frustration, all she really did was spotlight just how disconnected the league is from its own reality. Her outburst blaming Caitlin Clark and Fever fans for the finals being a complete flop wasn't just misdirected. It was symbolic of a league in denial. Because let's be clear, Caitlin Clark isn't the reason these finals are dead. The reason is the league's total inability to do what professional sports leagues are supposed to do: build hype, create stars, tell stories, and deliver a product that people care about watching. But instead of self-awareness, we're getting scapegoats. What Bonner should have said was, "Our league blew it." That would have been the truth, because this season was theirs to lose. They had Caitlin Clark, the most talked-about rookie in decades. They had a spotlight, and they had new eyes finally paying attention. But they didn't know what to do with it. They let their biggest star become the target of nonstop criticism. They let her take cheap shots from veterans and media alike. They let resentment fester inside the locker rooms and on social media. And when she was finally knocked out of the playoffs, the interest vanished. Just like that. Gone. And instead of reflecting on that, instead of asking the obvious question, why wasn't there anyone else the league had built up to carry the finals? Bonner decided to slam the fans who did show up this year, even if only because Clark gave them a reason. It's the classic deflection move. When you don't like the answer, blame the people asking the questions. But fans aren't the problem. Fans are the barometer. And right now, that barometer is showing a steep drop in pressure. The games don't matter. The finals don't matter. Not because basketball isn't being played, but because nothing is on the line. There's no tension, no personal stakes, no stories fans are desperate to follow. And that is entirely on the league. Instead of turning the 2024 season into a launch pad for future rivalries, the WNBA coasted. They slapped Clark's face on a few posters, leaned into the short-term PR wins, and hoped everything else would magically fall into place. It didn't. You can't grow a league off one player and then pretend the growth was organic. The numbers followed Clark. The energy followed Clark. The media attention followed Clark. And once she was out, it all came crashing down. So when Bonner stood there and said the finals were lifeless because Clark fans didn't show up, what she was really doing, whether she knew it or not, was confirming just how shallow the league's success really was. Because if the absence of one player can take down the finals, that means you never had a strong foundation to begin with. That's not on Clark. That's on you. It's on league leadership, starting with Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, who has spent more time pushing PR soundbites than addressing the structural cracks under her feet. This season should have been about capitalizing on momentum. Instead, it became a masterclass in how to fumble it. Engelbert didn't invest in the product. She invested in perception. She focused on telling people the league was growing, without making sure the actual experience matched the headline. And now that the spotlight's faded, the reality is impossible to ignore. Empty arenas, flat energy, and finals ticket selling for less than a gas station sandwich. No one believes the growth narrative anymore, because all it took was Caitlin Clark's exit to prove that it wasn't real. It was hype. It was borrowed time. And now the clock's run out. But even now, in the middle of this collapse, the league refuses to course correct. They're still chasing the illusion of momentum, still pretending the finals are going fine, still ignoring the silence from sponsors and the lack of buzz on social media. You'd think the visuals alone, empty rows of seats, broadcasts with no atmosphere, players looking like they're going through the motions, would be enough to trigger concern. But nope, just more empty words, more denial. And while Bonner's rant may have gotten attention, it didn't fix the problem. It amplified it. It showed that even the league's veterans are looking for answers in the wrong places. Instead of calling out the system that failed them, they're lashing out at the very person who gave the league life. That kind of blame shifting is not only unproductive, it's embarrassing, especially coming from someone with Bonner's platform. If you want fans to show up, give them something to show up for. That's not the fans' job. That's yours. But here's the bigger issue. The league isn't just failing to entertain, it's failing to evolve. There's no adaptability, no bold moves, just repetition. The same safe branding, the same bland messaging, the same reluctance to embrace what makes sports actually work. Where are the rivalries? Where's the drama? Where's the clash of personalities, the storylines that make each game more than just a score? That's what fans connect to. That's why they tune in, not just to see who wins, but to see how it unfolds. And if that's missing, you're just watching basketball. There's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't make people care. That's the WNBA's biggest failure. They had a chance to make fans care, really care, and they blew it. Instead of leaning into the tension Clark brought, they tried to erase it. Instead of protecting her when she became a lightning rod, they stayed silent. And when the final showed up and the buzz was gone, they acted surprised. Now, they're watching the consequences play out in real time. You can't trick people into believing in a product. You have to build that belief. And that means storytelling, strategy, substance, not press releases and slogans. If the WNBA wants a future, it has to start building one. That means developing stars beyond the rookie hype. That means fostering rivalries that carry into the postseason. That means giving players room to show personality, even if it's messy, even if it's controversial. Because sports fans don't want perfection. They want emotion. They want unpredictability. They want stakes. Right now, there are none. And that's why these finals have become the league's biggest embarrassment yet. But it doesn't have to stay that way. If the WNBA actually listens to fans, to metrics, to what the product really looks like when the hype dies down, there's still time to fix it. Still time to build something authentic, something real. But blaming fans? Blaming Clark? That's not the move. The move is admitting the league is broken, and then doing the work to fix it. Because if things keep going the way they are, next year's finals won't just be forgettable. They might be empty altogether. Let's just sit with this for a second. The WNBA finals are happening, and it feels like no one cares. The seats are empty, the atmosphere is dead, and the ticket prices are so low, it's honestly disrespectful to the players on the court. And yet, the blame is being tossed around like confetti, landing on everyone except the people responsible for this disaster. DeWanna stood at the center of the storm and decided her target would be Caitlin Clark and the fans she brought in. That's not just a bad look, it's delusional. Clark isn't the problem. She's the only reason the WNBA even got a sliver of national attention this season. She wasn't just a hot topic. She was the entire conversation. Every broadcast, every sold-out arena, every spike in jersey sales and ratings, that was her. And what did the league do with that momentum? Nothing sustainable. They rode the wave until it crashed, then acted like they never needed it to begin with. The WNBA had a golden opportunity. A rookie came in and shook up everything. She turned regular season games into must-watch TV. She created headlines. She gave the league a narrative, something they haven't had in years. But instead of rallying around that, the league got scared of its own success. They sanitized it, softened it, and ultimately wasted it. And now here we are, watching a final series with all the energy of a preseason warm-up and the attendance of a high school pep rally. And somehow, the storyline isn't about how the league let things fall apart. It's about blaming the only person who made the matter in the first place. This season exposed something the league didn't want anyone to see. The growth wasn't real. It was cosmetic, superficial, inflated by one star's cultural relevance. The minute she was out, the whole system deflated. That's not a Caitlin Clark problem. That's a WNBA problem. And Bonner, instead of calling that out, turned her frustration toward the one thing that actually kept the lights on. That tells you everything you need to know about the mindset at play here. There's resentment. There's division. There's denial. And none of it is being addressed by leadership. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert continues to smile through the collapse, pushing vague optimism while every measurable indicator, ticket sales, ratings, fan interest, is screaming the opposite. And it's not just tone deaf. It's reckless. If you don't acknowledge the crisis, how can you fix it? Clark didn't ask to carry the league on her back. But when she did, when she brought in the eyeballs and the dollars, the WNBA was happy to take the credit. Yet the moment the finals were left to stand on their own, the truth came out. The product isn't compelling enough. That's not an attack on the athletes. It's a direct call-out of how poorly the league has structured its entertainment value. There's no narrative drive, no emotional investment, no rivalry, no drama. The fans weren't going to stick around for nothing. And that's exactly what the finals feel like. Nothing. The matchups don't matter. The stakes don't feel high. There's no electricity in the air. Just two teams playing out a script that no one's interested in. It's not even bad basketball. It's just meaningless. And when sports feel meaningless, fans stop watching. So now the league is watching its supposed breakout season end in a whimper. And instead of facing that, Bonner turned her outrage toward Clark's fan base. The same people who showed up. The ones who bought the jerseys. Who tuned into games they would have otherwise ignored. That level of blame shifting isn't just wrong. It's actively harmful. You can't insult the very people you were desperate to attract 6 months ago. You can't burn the bridge and then wonder why no one's walking across it anymore. The WNBA made a critical error. They thought buzz was the same as stability. It's not. Buzz is fleeting. You have to build something real behind it. You have to give people a reason to keep watching once the initial hype wears off. Instead, the league relied entirely on Clark's presence. They didn't promote other stars. They didn't craft season-long narratives. They didn't build emotional arcs into the games. They just cashed in on Clark's arrival, smiled for the cameras, and prayed it would all work out. Now, with the finals flopping hard, the silence is deafening. There's no leadership coming out and acknowledging the missed opportunity. No plan being rolled out to address fan fatigue. Just a lot of spin. Fans aren't buying it, and they shouldn't, because the product doesn't lie. And right now, it's a tough product to defend. Finals tickets shouldn't be cheaper than parking. Championship basketball shouldn't feel like a placeholder. And players, especially veterans, shouldn't be scapegoating the league's only real draw. If anything, Bonner's rant is a microcosm of the league's larger issues. No accountability, no vision, no understanding of the moment they just wasted. What they needed was leadership that recognized the stakes and had the courage to make bold, maybe even uncomfortable decisions. Instead, they buried their heads in the sand and hoped the narrative would fix itself. Spoiler, it didn't. And now, the WNBA's credibility is on the line. Because what does this finals say to the casual fans who are watching? What does it say to the media outlets who finally gave the league serious attention? What does it say to sponsors who were ready to invest long-term? It says, there's no plan. There's no follow-through. And when things go wrong, we'll blame everyone but ourselves. That's not a brand people want to attach themselves to. That's not a league that feels ready for prime time. This could have been a turning point, a true breakout season. But thanks to short-sighted decisions, internal tension, and absolute denial from the top, it's ending in the most embarrassing way possible. Forgotten. Fans don't remember stats, they remember moments. And right now, there are no memorable moments coming out of the finals. No viral highlights. No iconic game winners. No emotional peaks. Just noise. Noise and excuses. And if that's all the WNBA has to offer post-Clark, then this league isn't just stalling, it's backsliding. So to the league, to Engelbert, to the players who've aimed their frustration in the wrong direction, it's time to wake up. Stop acting like growth is guaranteed. Stop pretending Clark didn't carry this league on her back all season. And for once, start taking responsibility. Because if you don't, this moment won't just be remembered as a missed opportunity. It'll be remembered as the moment the WNBA proved it wasn't ready for the spotlight it begged for. If you're done with the spin and the finger-pointing, drop your thoughts in the comments. What do you think the league should have done? Are you sticking around for the finals? Or are you checked out like the rest of us? Hit that like button, share this with someone who's tired of the excuses, and subscribe. Because if this is how the WNBA handles success, you know there's more drama coming. Stay tuned.